Welcome to Van Ren 10 on sports. Okay, so in the previous video, I talked about New England versus Jacksonville. And now we're going to cover the NFC Championship game Philadelphia versus Minnesota. It's being played in Philadelphia. Talk a little bit about both teams. Philadelphia was the best team in the NFL. I really believe that Philadelphia was on the fast track to be the NFC's representative in the Super Bowl. And they would be the team that would actually win the Super Bowl. I believe that Carson Wentz meshed with that team so well that the Philadelphia Eagles were just good. I mean, look, I'm wearing green. Philadelphia Eagles. This is not quite Philadelphia Eagle green, but I've been wearing green for the last 5 or 6 videos I've made here in the last 2 hours. So I'm making a lot of these things. I'm just trying to get some of them on the internet so that I can say I'm making some effort. New Year's resolution type stuff. The Philadelphia Eagles with Carson Wentz, to me, would have been a 14-2 team that would have been extremely strong in the playoffs, and I think they would have won the Super Bowl. I think good run game, good defense, great quarterback. They would have been spectacular. They would have gotten Philadelphia's first Super Bowl title in their history. But something happened along the way, and that was they lost their quarterback to an injury. And they had to depend on Nick Foles. Nick Foles, he's probably going to fall in this game a lot. I mean, he fell in the last game a lot. I think he got sacked a ton. But Nick Foles has a history of being pretty good. There was at one time he had thrown 17 touchdown passes to only 2 interceptions, something ridiculous, or maybe 6 interceptions. Some ridiculous number that kind of maybe told us that he would be pretty good. But I think a lot of that was under Chip Kelly, if I'm not mistaken. I think Chip Kelly just kind of coached a game that he kind of liked. Bringing in the new coaching staff, I don't think that, there is not another coaching staff in the NFL that was like Chip Kelly's from Oregon. That did that kind of a spread offense in the NFL that was just kind of out there. But Nick Foles kind of did pretty good under Chip Kelly. They brought him back They brought him back, and Nick Foles hasn't been horrible, but Nick Foles is not Carson Wentz. The worst part about this AFC and NFC championship game is the quarterbacks that we have that are left is Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles, and then of course the GOAT Tom Brady. But they always say it's a quarterbacks league. Well, we're watching the NFC title game, and the quarterbacks are Nick Foles and Case Keenum. Not exactly Aaron Rodgers and Carson Wentz or Goff or another great young quarterback that's out there. But I still think that the Philadelphia Eagles do have a good chance here. They are still playing in Philadelphia. The defense is still strong. They have a very good running game, and the one thing in the playoffs that is very dependable and you want to have is a defense and a running game. So Minnesota's offense I think Minnesota's offense is gonna have to put up 31 points to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I really do. I think Nick Foles will probably throw 3 touchdowns in this game. You're saying that doesn't seem right, but I think they're going to key on the running game, and they're going to force Nick Foles to beat him. And I think Nick Foles has a lot of talented people in his wide receiving core, and he's a decent enough quarterback. He'll find them. And he's got some running backs that can come out of the backfield and catch too. So I mean, Ajayi is a very versatile back. So not to mention they have a pretty good tight end there. There is a lot of strengths on that Philadelphia Eagle team. Their one weakness, though, unfortunately, is the glaring one, which is the quarterback. Now, when I went into making this video, I don't have a lot of stats, and I didn't really think about this very much, so I'm pretty much doing this on the fly. And the more and more I talk about Philadelphia, when I first did the video, I leaned a little bit more towards Minnesota maybe winning this game. But right now, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Philadelphia. Let's see if talking about Minnesota can sway me back. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are on a very nice run. Nobody really expected. I think if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I don't know if the Minnesota Vikings are here right now. I think Green Bay probably has the better season. But with the Minnesota Vikings have an extremely good defense. They have a very good running game, and Case Keenum has been very steady. He's made some plays too. I mean, I've watched some of the Minnesota Vikings games, and Case Keenum makes plays. He's a gunslinger. I mean, I love watching a gunslinger, man. I love watching a guy that'll just throw it. And in that last play of that game against the Saints, that's a gunslinger mentality. That's a Brett Favre. He's just not as talented as Favre. But I love the gunslinger mentality. I love the guy that'll sit there and he's going to keep slinging it and he's going to keep throwing it no matter what. And the Minnesota Vikings have a very good defense, a very good defense. But this still is in Philadelphia. I don't think the running game is as strong as Minnesota Vikings fans would like to think that it is, but it's good enough. But I think the Philadelphia defense is going to kind of eat it up. I'm not super impressed with the wideouts and the tight ends that play for Minnesota. I think the Philadelphia Eagles probably have a stronger core compared to them. There is, though, a little bit of magic with that Vikings team. And part of it might be it's that drive to get to the Super Bowl that's going to be in their home stadium. That's right. The Minnesota Vikings can win this thing. They get to play the Super Bowl in their house. That, to me, is the most intriguing part of this game. I want the Vikings to win merely because I would love to see somebody get to play the Super Bowl in their own house. But let's be real. That's a novelty. And it's like, you're going to be going up. I already picked in the previous video. I picked the Patriots to win that game. And the Patriots are going to be waiting for you. And I don't care what house you're in. The Patriots are going to be the favorite. Even if the Vikings make it into that game, the Patriots are going to be the favorite. Unless something happens to Tom Brady in the last 2 minutes of, the last 2 minutes of that game, or he gets he has an Achilles tear or something weird that happens to him that's just not expected, or, I don't know, maybe, Giselle drops the, hammer on him. I don't know. I'm not sure. But as long as nothing unforeseen happens to Brady, the Patriots will be the favorite in this game, in the Super Bowl. But the Minnesota Vikings, strong defense, decent running game. I think quarterback comparison, I would rather have Case Keenum in this game. But the other problem with a gunslinger, they'll throw it often. They believe that they can put it in any spot, anywhere, anytime, which leads to turnovers. Brett Favre was notorious for him. I think he has the most interceptions in NFL history. But he also had, at one point, the most touchdown passes, too, so he was pretty good. But Case Keenum might make a mistake late in that game that costs his team. I think that the Eagles will be ahead, but it'll kind of be a back and forth game. I really see a game of trading scores. I see a game that probably goes 10-7, 14-7, 17-14, 17-17, 24-17, 24-20, and then, maybe 24-27, and then the game ends up 31-27. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles, I've talked about the Vikings. I can't convince myself to go back. I think the Eagles will win this game 31-27. I think it'll be one of those that Nick Foles will play a good enough game in Philadelphia, in the home stadium. I think the home crowd will be raucous. The Minnesota Vikings play in a dome, and now they're going to play outside in Philadelphia. It's probably going to be cold. At the very least, it's going to be cold. Philadelphia in January, cold and humid cold. So it's, um, but I think that the Eagles Vikings defense matchup, Vikings win the defense. The offense, I think I'd rather have Case Keenum, but I think that in this playoff game, Foles is going to play the better game. I think Keenum's going to make a crucial mistake at the end somewhere. He's going to make a mistake that kind of costs his team the victory, costs his team a chance at a victory. So, Philadelphia 31, Minnesota 27, which sets up a Super Bowl of Philadelphia versus New England. So, if that Super Bowl happens, we'll talk about it after the AFC NFC Championship games. We may revisit this again, and I may talk about give you a quick Super Bowl preview. And then for 2 weeks, you can watch everybody else give a Super Bowl preview, and then I'll maybe do more on the Super Bowl. I don't know. But to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.